And when you're talking about, your finances and investing over the long term, you see the most growth at the very end when you're like getting older. And that's why it's so important to be like getting into personal finance early on and investing your money early, because just a 10-year delay can cut out like more than half of the total amount of interest.
Yo, what is up, guys? And welcome back to the Team Finance Podcast. Let's go.
Today we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. The real reason we're actually making this episode is because I'm writing an essay in English and I want to be able to cite myself. I thought that'd be really funny if in my bibliography or my works cited, it's just like Teen Finance Podcast. So but it's useful stuff that we're going to talk about. So this is kind of like the real estate episode. We're just going to ramble for a little bit. We'll start off with some basic economics, then we'll move into renting versus buying, which is what I'm actually writing a whole research paper on. And then we're going to talk about landlords, HOA, all that stuff. It'll be a fun episode, very valuable info for people who are going to, have to purchase a home in the future. So I'm going to start it off, Maseo, with a little bit of an economics lesson that it changed the way that I look at a lot of stuff. And there's some fallacies that pop up every once in a while, and now I can recognize them. So first, let's talk about two types of costs, okay? So First, we're going to talk about opportunity costs, and this will come into play later on. That's why I want to get these definitions out of the way. So for those who don't know, an opportunity cost is essentially the price you pay when you choose one option over another, because you can like not pick the other option, So let's say I don't want to get into this too quick, but when you're renting versus buying, like when you're renting or when you're buying a house, like you lock up some of your money in a down payment, and then you can't use that money to do other stuff such as like start a business or something like that. That's like the basic idea. But it can factor into a lot of smaller scale stuff to like say when you're going to school, okay? When you're going to college, and let's say you spend another 2 years to get your master's in something. The cost of getting that master's is not only the price of your tuition and your room and board and all that stuff for that 2 years. Say that's like, I don't know, $40,000 a year or something. So it wouldn't be $80K. It would be $80K plus 2 years worth of salary of whatever job you could get with like a bachelor's degree. So you have to add that on. So just thinking about all the decisions you make with this opportunity cost in mind can really like start to put things into perspective. And it's a good way to like measure if something's actually worth it or not, if this is the right choice to make. And then the other definition we need to get out of the way is sunk costs and the sunk cost fallacy. So I don't know if you remember this, but maybe like a year ago or something, all of our friends, we all got season passes to the boardwalk, right?
Oh, yeah, we all had them.
And I regretted it. I'm like, dude, why did we get these? Like, we know the boardwalk isn't that fun. We're not going to want to go again. But we bought them, so we should go. When we're hanging out, we should go to the boardwalk, right?
Yeah.
This is a prime example of the sunk cost fallacy. So a sunk cost is something that you spend and you cannot get back. You're not going to recoup it. So spending that $100 or whatever it was to get a boardwalk season pass, that is, spending money. I'm not going to get that back. There's nothing I can do about it. But this is a sunk cost fallacy, okay? So because I paid that money, now I'm like, all right, I need to get my money's worth. So I need to go to the boardwalk, X amount of times. But I don't actually want to go to the boardwalk. So that's where the opportunity cost, comes into play. Like, what else could I be doing with that time? So it's like I could be going and doing other things that I have more fun with, but I feel like I need to go to the boardwalk, and then I need to go spend more money on food there and all that kind of stuff. The sunk cost fallacy sucks. Even now that like I'm fully aware of it, I fall for it all the time. Just the other day, we were shopping, my sister and I. It was like Black Friday. We had to get clothes for like some Thanksgiving thing, and we went shopping for like 2 hours, and we kind of struck out. We didn't find anything that good. Like, we need to get something because we spend so much time here. That is the sunk cost fallacy. We felt obligated to spend money on something that we didn't really want because we were like there and had spent time. Another example. Let's say you go to a movie. Maseo, what's a movie that you went to that just wasn't really that good?
Wasn't really that good.
Wasn't a home run.
Oh, like Thor, Love and Thunder.
Thor, Love and Thunder. All right. why didn't you walk out of the theater? You're like,
Well,
why
'cause
would
I
I
paid
walk
for it.
out? You paid for it. Exactly. But would you really want to spend that time watching Thor: Love and Thunder? Or would you want to go do something else that was fun with that hour of time? You know?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another good example is the bad movie. One more, okay? This is like kind of like, Sam going A train mode. I don't want to be a menace here, but let's say you're in a relationship, all right? You're not that
Mm-hmm.
happy in this relationship. The
Oh
thing
no.
is, you've spent so much time building this up and you don't want to throw this all away. Again, that's a sunk cost. So I'm not telling you guys all to break up, but I mean, you can't stop the A train. This is what I'm saying. Okay. So be aware of these sunk costs. Even like still to this day, like I'm aware of it. I totally like do it. It just makes me feel better. Um, yeah, the sunk cost fallacy. It's dangerous. So can you think of any other examples? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah. So I have this one, right? So this Friday, I went to you've been to the Westfield in San Jose?
yeah.
It's like the big mall in Stevens
Is it
Creek.
Westgate?
I thought it was Westfield.
I don't even know
It's
what it's called.
in Stevens Creek, like next
Yeah.
to Santana Row and stuff. But I went there, right? And I was walking through all these stores looking at this on Black Friday, so it was like slammed. Like
Yeah.
I only found a parking spot because I waited
Wait,
behind
people
this
still go
family.
to Black
No, no,
Friday in
people still go
person?
to malls. Okay, well, I went more to well, I already had a plan to like go over the hill on Friday. Not
Yeah.
really for Black Friday like reasons. I just like wanted to not be here. And so like I was already just kind of like over there and I was like, okay, so we're gonna go to the mall. And we go into the mall and it's like so swarmed with like just people and these people are just like mindlessly buying stuff because it's cheaper. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like they don't
Yeah.
really exactly want it. They buy it because it's cheaper. And then the one thing that I saw that was like kind of interesting that I fell for was that I was at I think it was Uniqlo. Yeah, it was Uniqlo. And there was a
I love
t-shirt, right?
Uniqlo, bro.
This stuff, it's like it feels nice. And it was like it was this t-shirt, right? And I was like, oh, I really like this t-shirt in this one color. But it was like buy one, get one 30% off. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
well, now I need to buy another t-shirt.
Yeah.
But
No,
and then I
that's
got a t-shirt and I'm never gonna wear that t-shirt. That's no.
I think
It's
there's
just
another
like
name for that type of like sale, like buy one get one free psychology. But no, I fall victim to that all the time too. I think I was down south. It was Rip Curl outlet or something,
oh yeah.
and I got a pair of shorts because it was like you said, like buy one get one like half off or something like that. I haven't worn the pair of shorts one time. It's sitting with a tag on, and I can't like return it because like one, the outlet's down south. Two, I don't even think they do returns because it's an outlet. So that's something that's like it helps to be abundantly aware of. Try to stop yourself whenever there's a buy one get one half off and you really don't need the second one. Just try not to get it because you could use that money for something else. Put it towards something that you actually want. Um, so yeah, now that we've gotten those out of the way, I think we can move into renting versus buying. So Maseo, what would you say is the better choice between renting and buying? Try to like anything that I've said, just like clean it out of the way. Like originally, what would you have thought is
Originally,
better?
actually, I haven't really heard much from you. I think maybe 'cause I'm not in your class, but so I've kind of been on the renting side more,
Mm-hmm.
and like hear me out, okay? So I know that typically, like everyone will tell you, like, oh, go buy a house, like settle down, it's an asset, but it's like also an asset that you're spending probably a large chunk of your income on every month, and that also keeps you planted in one place. And it's like I feel like once I'm older, out of school, like I'm not gonna want to stay planted in one town, owning a home. I would like to be moving around with like less like struggle. And then I guess you could always rent out the house that you own, but that's still like more work, and you're still paying the mortgage on that house for probably 30 years. And okay, you see my point though, right? It's just
I
I want to be
100% agree
mobile.
with you. I 100%
Yeah,
agree with you, which is why like I'm making the case that for of the vast majority of people, especially like young people straight out of college, I'm thinking between like 20 and 35, renting is like the far superior option when compared to buying. That's not to say there aren't cases where you shouldn't buy a home. Um, Certainly like there are different programs where you can run the numbers based off of your current housing markets. But for us, I want to talk about specifically California because that's what market we know best, living
yeah,
here, and
definitely.
for young people. So, um, when you get out of college, all right, you don't have a ton of money. Okay, you have
Yeah, yeah,
limited amounts of money. But the thing is, your money is actually it's worth a lot Why? Because there's compound interest. The power of compound interest. Any money that you invest early on, since it has more time to grow. The basic idea of compound interest, right? I'm gonna explain this for people who don't know this either. Let's say you have like $5, or like let's say $10. Okay, $10 grows at a 10% growth rate. Okay, so that's like exponential growth right there.
Yeah.
So when you have that 10, that $10 turns into $11, and then that turns into like $12.10 the next year, and then it keeps going up, and the amount that grows by keeps getting bigger and bigger. And when you're talking about, your finances and investing over the long term, you see the most growth at the very end when you're like getting older. And that's why, starting early, that's why like it's so important to be like, getting into personal finance early on and investing your money early, because just a 10-year delay can cut out like more than half of the total amount of interest, or the total amount of like interest that you'd make over the term of your investment. So that's one reason why you want to, get your spending as low as possible when you're in your like 20s and stuff like that. When you pay down payment on a house, you're locking up like $100,000. That is so much money that is extremely valuable to you at that time. And then also, I mean, we see, rent and a mortgage may be around the same price on paper, right? The amount that you're paying to the bank, or the amount that you're renting. So that's what gets a lot of people to think like, oh, when you're renting, you're literally just paying your landlord's mortgage. That's not true though, because there are a lot of other expenses that aren't your mortgage that are included in home ownership. So the first is closing costs. So when you buy a house, especially in California, you're paying like 3 to 6% of the home sale price on closing costs. So let's say how much? What's like a home in California? Like $1 million, 800,000 is probably average, something like that.
Yeah.
So then you're paying like 30 to 60,000 bucks just to close and sell this house. So then let's say you move within a little while, because when you're young and in your 30s or something, who knows if you're gonna be like stuck to one place. You're gonna have to pay that closing cost every single time. So it's like $30,000 to $60,000 every time you move. It's not a small amount of money, which is why, it's best to like avoid that. Other costs that will come up, home insurance is a lot higher than renter's insurance, and you don't even need renter's insurance in a lot of cases because it's not covering the actual building. It's just covering your personal belongings inside the place or any accidental damage that you cause. You have to pay for any maintenance like that. If a dishwasher breaks, you're paying for it now, not your landlord. And then other stuff, HOA fees, which we can talk about that right now, actually. So HOA is the homeowners association. Not all neighborhoods have these. I might have I'm not sure. I'd actually have to check. You do have an HOA though, Maseo.
Oh, yes, we have an HOA. And it's just so actually when we first moved into our neighborhood, the HOA was or has been $150 a month, which is kind of outrageous. Like that's almost unheard of. And you would think that with $150 a month, our HOA would be doing like
building
something.
A rocket or something like in the street.
Yeah, like not just laundering money, but it was like, so when we first moved in, we would have like a block party like probably almost every month. Towards the end of the month, there'd be like a bouncy house, like a barbecue, and it'd all be paid for by our HOA.
Dang.
Which like that was cool. That like
cool.
made up for the crazy amount of money that we were spending every month. But then that stopped, and then like COVID happened, and then that stopped more, and now they're just still charging the same price, and we're just sitting on that money, right? So every house, and there's like 36 houses in our like neighborhood and like surrounding area that pay. That's 36 houses paying $150 a month, and like from like what the book shows, like they have like over $1 million, or like maybe even multi-million dollars just sitting there with absolutely nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Nothing. What is that going to go towards? And they try to make the claim that, oh, it's to fix the road in case of an earthquake. We pay for the insurance for like the whole neighborhood. We have insurance that covers that. So it's really just they're just holding the money for fun. Like I don't like HOAs. That's my consensus.
Some HOAs are cool. The purpose of HOAs is to like regulate neighborhoods so no one builds a skyscraper. I mean, actually no, that's not true. That's like zoning laws that do that. But other things like people want to mod their house, you know, you might have to check in with the HOA just to keep the neighborhood looking nice. Thing is, they charge money. They can charge a lot of money. Sometimes they don't do stuff, and sometimes there's people in your neighborhood that run the HOA or something that can be super petty and piss you off.
Oh,
I was listening to
100%.
a My First Million episode, and I think Sean was talking about some HOA horror stories and how he wants an HOA court. There should be like a court for homeowners associations.
I agree.
You have a jury and you come together because people can get mad about stupid stuff. Like I think for Sean, he was working out in his front yard,
Yeah.
playing music and working out in his front yard, and then some neighbor like complained to the HOA and they told him he had to stop. It's like, what? It's his front yard, man. So stuff like that, you're gonna have to deal with as a homeowner, and you're gonna have to pay that fee to the HOA. It's not like crazy high, but it adds up for sure, especially if you're paying $150 a month like Maseo. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a lot.
You know, I have two more things to add about my HOA. So
Go
what
for
you
it.
said about the My First Million, which one? Who was it? Sam?
It was
That
Sean, I
couldn't-
think.
Sean.
I think
Sean
Sam rents. Sean bought a house and he regrets it like wholeheartedly.
Okay, well, so Sean working out in his driveway. So when I was younger, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a group, there's like a big group of us that have all grown up here. We're all within like probably 2 years of each other. We've lived
Mhm.
here for like 6 years now. So like I've kind of like been around them, and like 6 years ago, we'd be playing outside, every single day in the street, playing like football, soccer, like, whatever, just like
Yeah.
playing games like Nerf gun fights. And
Those are so
there
fun.
was this
I had that
one
same thing.
family. There's this one family of like older people towards the end of our street, which really isn't where we ever played. And they complained that we were too loud, like multiple times. And our HOA sent out like a letter to every house in our neighborhood saying every house saying that that kids can't play outside after 9:30 is what they suggested. They tried to put a curfew in our neighborhood.
That's really
It's-
annoying.
It was
It's really bad.
it was really bad, and like we were never even out past that time because we were like 10 years old. But that was another thing about HOAs I don't like.
My
that
neighborhood
much.
is a lot of old people too. What do you
Yeah.
know? Do you know like I feel like at least 70% of my neighborhood is like retired people. I feel like I could be
No,
wrong.
mine's
I could be
probably
making that
not
up.
high.
But compared to even like maybe not 70, maybe it's like 50 or something. But compared to like other neighborhoods, I feel like Hilltop or something, it'd be like, 20% old people. I don't know. I could just be making that up. Probably.
Yeah,
am.
mine's probably like 30%.
Yeah.
Maybe 40.
I wonder
Actually, it
who's
is kind
gonna
of
move
high.
in. So behind my house, they just built like 12 new developments or 11 or something like that. And I think the Zillow listings actually, wait, are they on Zillow yet? At least we got like a flyer or something for an open house, and it was 30. I think it was 1.495, so like $1.5 million. And I thought they were gonna be way cheaper than that. It's kind of expensive because it was I was looking at them. They didn't look huge. I think some of them might be duplexes. At least that's what it looked like when I could like see the construction. They put up a fence now, which is hype because before there's a fence, the construction workers were just like peering into my backyard and through like the glass windows on the back of our house. It was kind of weird. Like,
Oh, it's so bad.
what happens if I want to like run around in my underwear and there's just a construction guy like looking at me? So now I'm just wondering, like, I'm about to have a ton of new neighbors. I think it'd be really cool if you moved into my backyard, Maseo.
You think? If I
Yeah.
just shut up. Well, then I'd want that fence gone so I could see through your windows.
It's true. Nah,
Yeah.
I'm on the front of the house.
Never mind. No,
I think
take it
we
back.
could cut a little hole in the fence and we could like, it could make a Romeo and Juliet type thing.
Oh, we
like,
could sneak through the
like
fence.
between the two castles. We could like, it'd be pretty
Aw.
epic. But yeah, I wonder who's gonna move in. All right, going back to some final like sunk costs of buying. I mean, you're paying your property tax, which is actually pretty low in California. One thing, when people like say like houses in Texas are so much cheaper and you should like move to some place in the middle of nowhere. Thing is, their houses are cheaper, but the property tax is a lot higher. And when you think about it, home price is not a sunk cost. When you're
Yeah.
paying a mortgage or whatever, like that's going into home equity that you can sell later on. That's why I never understood the argument of people saying like California sucks because their houses are more expensive. It's like, one, it's not a sunk cost. Like, you're getting that money back. It's put into equity. And like the sunk costs of living in Texas are higher because their property tax is something like 2%. When in California it's like 0.73. So that's where like a big part of the difference is made up.
I think it's where people go there for the income tax, right?
Yeah, they have
Super low. Is it
low.
none? Is it none or super low?
I'm not sure. I know Washington has no state income tax, at least. I mean, you still
Really?
pay federal
I don't know
income
that.
tax, but
Yeah.
it's definitely lower. Same with Florida and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you want to, that's true. California does have a very high income tax, but I mean, you get to live in a nice place.
Overpopulated. Nice
Yeah.
place.
So the opportunity costs, we talked a little bit about this, but when you know, put down a mortgage or when you paying a mortgage plus everything else, like the cost of paying everything for owning your house is probably going to be higher with when you're owning than renting. Like, probably there are some cases where renting might be slightly more expensive, but it's pretty rare. So with all those fees that are included, like that is however much money a month that you could be investing into something else. And then of course the huge down payment, which doesn't always need to be huge, but most of the time is going to be like a substantial amount of money. So that could go into like anything. It could go into starting a business, professional development, paying off high interest debt that is going to, burden you. So really, before you run into this, like, run the numbers to make sure it makes sense financially to buy a house. But I want to talk more about the psychological stuff. You actually like hit the nail on the head pretty good earlier when you were talking about this. But it's the idea of when you're young, do you want to have roots or do you want to have wings, right? When you're buying, you're putting down your roots. You're just like, I stole this from Ali Abdal. This is actually pretty good. You're putting on your roots. You're locking yourself up. Yeah, you're like settled down. It can be good to join a community, but you cannot take off and just go somewhere else if an opportunity presents itself. So one, let's say there's a job offer in a different place. If you don't have kids, if you're not totally settled in the community, you'll be able to want to go and take advantage of that because, potential pay raise, that is like an opportunity cost, of living there. You're not getting that pay jump. So, that's one thing. The other thing is like, what if you just like find some place that you like more? You're going to feel like, I got to stay here. This is where like the sunk cost comes in. Like, I've spent so much time, spending time at this home, trying to join this community. Even though the other one might be better, you're going to feel obligated to stay here. And that's one thing that, like, again, it's kind of a fallacy. And renting will just enable you to kind of jump from place to place more. I think it's like good to be able to like, experience a ton of different places to live before you find a place that you do want to buy a house. Because I mean, you shouldn't rent forever. Like, I mean, you can rent forever. It's not as bad. Like, renting forever may seem ridiculous. It's actually not, if you do it right. But for most people who aren't making like a gazillion dollars, it does make sense to them to buy at some point. But just while you're young, I don't know, especially when you don't really have that money to put onto a down payment. Because like, yeah, you might have it, but like there are other stuff like you have to make sure that like your student loans are paid off and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. I think that most people who are young should rent for a minute. Don't rush into buying a home unless you really know that you're gonna like stay there. But now we'll kind of move into talking about landlords and the idea of like owning multiple places and if it's ethical. So I'll let you start this one off.
Yeah. So, well, actually, I've had this conversation with a person at school before. They got like very heated about it.
Oh,
It started as like a subtle conversation, and it got really heated. But like the main point that I was pushing is that they're kind of providing, like a service to someone who doesn't
Yeah.
want to or have the money to go out and buy, a $2 million beachside home. They're allowing them to be there, as long as they want to be for, well, I don't know, probably a lot beachside home. But it's my whole idea is that it's like they're providing a service and it's not something that should be hated on. And I'm sure there's landlords out there that totally suck. But if you can't afford a house, I think you can't complain too much about like having to rent a house.
Yeah. I think that some landlords can be assholes. That's totally a thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And a lot of them can like raise rent, but I mean, landlords at the end of the day, they can only charge what the market will allow. Like, I mean, they can charge like $5,000, but then you're renting, so you can pick up and move somewhere else where it's cheaper, and someone who's charging less. Um, and if renting becomes so absurdly expensive to the point where like buying a house makes more sense, you'd buy a house. So,
Yeah.
but there are solutions for people who are low income. There is, I think there's some developments. I watched a video about some developments happening in, I think it was like either Vancouver or like Seattle or something like that. But they're building like fixed rent places for, low income people, which is fantastic. It's a way to get people, a jump start into having their own economic success. So those
Yeah.
exist. But for people who aren't struggling like that, I mean, and are just like middle class, you have to like, realize that you can buy a house if renting is so horrendous. And if you're I don't want to sound like too much of an asshole right now, but like if you're getting to the point where you can't afford a house in a certain place, then maybe you shouldn't be living there if it's that expensive. Or if you can't make enough money, maybe you should learn an in-demand skill to make more money or something like that. I don't know. I realize there are a ton of other external factors that can lead to that. That was totally like very generalized. But yeah, I don't know. We live in a game, and you kind of have to play it. I feel like that's my take. I don't know. Was that a bad take, or is that a
No,
fair
no, no.
take?
So that's like what I was gonna get to. That was like the next point I was gonna say was kind
Yeah.
of like something like that. Is that like you shouldn't stay in an area that you can't afford unless there's something really tying you there.
Yeah.
But if you're just staying so you're close to like maybe if you're like taking care of family, it makes sense to stay there. But if you're
That's the
just
reason why I'd have to say yeah.
yeah, but if you're just there and like you have your brother that lives there and like you're just kind of there, you're there without family at all.
It's totally
Just
fine to move somewhere else.
you can go somewhere else, like
Yeah.
experience something new, and that's kind of like why renting's so great is because you can just get up and leave, whenever you want to.
I think renting also opens up the possibility of like doing something really really cool while you're young, like living in some cool way, like van life, or going to a
Totally.
different country, like doing the whole digital nomad thing we talked about. Um, I think like renting is enables that. Like, let's say for a year you just want to go travel the world, maybe find a remote job if you can. I know those are getting harder to come by now, but if you can do that, it's so much easier to like do that when you're renting. I mean, I guess if you own a home, you could like rent out your house for a year, but then you have to make it really clear to your tenant that yeah, you only have this place for a year and then I want to move back into it, which opens a myriad of problems. But um I think renting is just something that enables that. I think definitely when I'm in my 20s, I'll rent for a minute, and then probably I don't know, around by the time I'm ready to have kids, that's the time when it's probably time to settle down. I don't want to, be that parent that makes my kids move halfway through their school, because I know the benefits. I mean, I sure, Maseo, you know this too. Wait, you've lived here your whole life, right?
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
So the benefits of having like not having to move, there are studies on this. Like it totally improves your childhood and outcomes. So and just having like someplace stable is fantastic. And I wouldn't want to be that parent that makes my kids move halfway through school. So I think when you're ready to have kids, then you can, if you want to have kids, then you can settle down. But until then, I mean, enjoy being able to move around. But even when you, because I mean, it really is like when if you're gonna own a home for like a long time, then it makes sense to buy it in most cases, but not all. And I think in California, at least, like the housing market right now is kind of uncertain. It's pretty high. To buy if you want to buy a house, Maseo, do you want to talk about that, or can we talk about that yet? About what happened to the failed purchase?
Um,
It's pretty
yeah, I
funny.
mean,
It's
yeah,
pretty funny.
we can,
It's
yeah.
kind of hilarious. The fact that it was your neighbor. I mean, I'll let you tell. I'll let you explain.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, there's this house that was, really not that far, even closer to the high school that me and Sam go to, and it was like an absolute steal. It was no, okay. I'm about to say this.
It
This
wasn't
is
an absolute steal. It was
it's a
a it was a
California. It's
it
a
was a
good
good
deal in
deal.
California.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was 2 million for like 6,000 square feet, like 5 bedrooms, had a pool. It was on a hill. It was really pretty, and we were like seriously looking into it because that was the best deal that we've seen. Probably like 3 years, and we were like gonna make an offer on it and all that stuff. And like right when they opened up bidding, someone bid like I think 500,000 over the asking, right? And
It's crazy.
okay, so I'm not 100% on this, but I'm pretty confident it was like cash offer because they accepted it really
Who
quickly.
has that much money in cash, bro? Who?
Exactly.
I guess if you have
Well,
like an investment
maybe,
portfolio, just so
maybe
that's
my
what.
neighbor.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, this has got to be a tech bro with a huge signing bonus or something like that. I don't know, just a ton of disposable income.
Yeah.
But
Well, so I haven't gotten 100% the yes from it, but like it's kind of obvious. Like they were being like weird when we were asking
they're
about
being
it,
weird about it.
and like so he's like big Apple tech bro guy. I think he moved from over the hill to here. Like he works remote at Apple. I think he's semi important. So he
Mhm.
has a lot of money. Maybe like sold off some stock. I don't exactly know what he did, but it was just crazy that someone was able to go in 500,000 over asking and just take it and walk away.
So yeah, like Bay Area right now, um, it's pretty
It's a
much the
war zone.
highest like rent to home value ratio. Like I think it's home values right now are like 60 times um annual rent or something like that. I forgot what it was.
Actually, I have a calculator up right now for Bay Area rent.
So
Have you seen these before?
huh?
You seen like the rent like the rent versus buy calculators?
Try it. Let's try it for the
Okay,
Bay
here.
Area.
Where do you want to get? So I have it set to Monterey right now, but where do you want it? I can keep it there. I can move it.
Do it like San Jose or something. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, I
But
have one in San Jose. Okay. There we
yeah.
go.
So yeah, oh yeah, home price is this article from SF Chronicle, and I think SF Gate did one on it too. But for San Francisco, the price to rent ratio is it was 56.5 times annual rent to purchase a home, which is like, that's 56 years or something like that's pretty much what it says. Of course, rents can rise over time, but it just goes to show that like, no, I mean, renting obviously can make a lot of sense if it costs that much to buy a home. Um, and I think the thing is, if you buy a home right now in California, there's a good chance that it would drop in value because of certain things. Like, did you hear about Senate Bill number 9, Maseo?
No. What is that?
You probably did, and you just don't know what it's called.
Maybe.
Did you hear about the thing where you can build um 4 units on a single
Oh, yeah,
family
yeah, yeah,
zone?
yeah. I
So
did hear
yeah,
about that.
um, now because single family zoning, for those who don't know, it like sucks. It's really bad for like, making affordable housing, and California kind of has a problem with that. Um, Single family zoning is also bad for like urban planning and like, public transportation and stuff like that. Newsom signed a law. I think it was written by Atkins, but Newsom signed it. Basically saying that you can build up to 2 units on a lot, and you can divide any existing like single family lots into two. So that essentially makes it so you can build four. So I could go build like 3 places in my backyard if I wanted to. And I think people should take advantage of this. All the NIMBYs probably just have to like take a dose of copium or something. I don't know. Deal with it. But it'll definitely like slightly hurt housing prices probably, I'm guessing, because just like basic supply and demand. If there's more of a supply, it'll start to mitigate that huge demand that's propping up home prices so much. So be careful. I mean, I don't know. Is there going to be a massive real estate crash? Maybe, maybe not. This is not financial advice. Don't take our word on it. But um, it's in a shaky spot right now. And it might just be better to rent for the time being.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to miss out on a lot by waiting. I don't think home values are going to like, skyrocket another however much. I don't know. Maybe they will, but maybe they probably won't.
Yeah. And also like the interest rate right now is crazy. It's 6%, right? Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
that's like it was. The thing is, like, so a lot of these homes were bought during COVID when interest rates were like 1-2%, and you could get stuff for just really low. But I mean, interest rates are rising again, so it costs more to borrow money. You're paying more to borrow. So I don't know. If you,
Yeah.
I feel like we should have refinanced during COVID. Is that a good idea? I mean, if interest rates
I
are lower, like I don't know why we didn't do that. It's probably like
I think people did it. I think it was definitely a thing, right?
no, it totally was a thing. But there's probably like something. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it was just like a good thing that we missed out on. I know my family didn't do it for our house.
Yeah, I don't know.
Should have snagged that 2% interest rate, man. um. So yeah, that's the renting versus buying. Tread lightly. I think. So, did you have anything else you want to say on that?
For renting versus buying. Oh, okay. This kind of going back in time here, but for renting versus buying, I have a little argument for buying. So you were saying like when you had a family, you were ready to like settle down and get a home.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like owning a home allows you to be like a little more, I guess, like adventurous with what you do. Because a big
Yeah,
like
you
driving
can.
factor for my family getting a house was that my dad was starting a company. So we wanted to kind of make sure we had like, if everything went wrong, we would still have somewhere to be.
Yeah,
And it's like just getting that kind of security for a family is definitely a good thing.
it totally is. And like you're not, at the will of your landlord when it comes to like, raising things. If you have a
Yeah,
fixed
totally.
rate mortgage payment, then you're like chilling. So I think the other thing that's good about buying, which I think is actually kind of underrated, is it's a forced saving mechanism. So, when we talk about this, opportunity cost of what else you could do, like how you could invest that $100,000, you have to be like, am I really going to invest that $100,000? Or am I going to go buy Taylor Swift concert tickets with it? So you have to
Yeah.
realize what kind of spender you are. Hopefully after listening to this podcast for 20 episodes, you're like pretty good with spending and you're pretty aware of what you're doing. But if you're you're really just bad, maybe buying a house is right for you, because if you don't make those mortgage payments, like, your bank might go try to like, take your house. So, um, whereas like if that extra money that you're saving from renting like might just go into other things that you don't really need to spend money on. So it is a good forced saving technique. If you meet all your payments, which you're kind of forced to do, you'll end up with the value of your home and net worth at least. So yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Um we've talked a little bit about real estate. I want to end it off. Let's come up with some theoretical investment portfolios. What you think the best holdings are. So I'll let you start. Actually, what do you think? Well, let's say you have $1 million. Actually, no. Let's just go on percentage. Let's do percents. How would
Okay.
you break it up?
I have $1 million.
Sure.
Um, so I think I go 300,000 into little S&P, just like index funds, right?
Fair.
Try
Fair.
to lock that up. I go maybe I would, I know savings are a terrible idea, but I think I would do like a 10% saving on it just to have like the cash for, whenever I need it, I
Yeah.
guess. So that's 40% tied up there. I would put, so I guess I have money, right? So I'd probably put, so I'm at 40% right now. I would put another 20% into like a business venture
Okay. That's fair. I like that. That's
because I
fun.
don't want to I don't want to lock up all my money, but that'd
You
be
don't want to be
fun to
like you
have
don't want
like,
to be like a lame person.
no, I don't want to be lame. I
Yeah.
don't want to. Yeah, so that's 20% into a business venture. That's 60%, right? Oh man, I still have 40% left. Shoot. Okay, you know what? We've been talking about this. I think I would go the final 40% into a large apartment duplex or like complex, which I
Okay.
would rent out and hopefully be able to pay a large amount, like a large down payment with that 400,000, and then allow the mortgage to be really small and rent out all these subunits
Yeah.
to like bring in more profit just from that money. And then hopefully my $200,000 business venture works out. I think
You
that's how
know
I'd
whose
split it
place
up.
could be worth so much for renting?
Here's,
Nate's at UCSC, bro.
oh, I know. If he just like built all
Dude,
those
that is
rooms or like
ideal.
he,
I think his parents plan on moving out of it once he graduates. And I'm like, you should keep it because you could rent that out to like some UCSC students for a lot, I'm guessing.
oh yeah,
Um,
they like built the rooms just like separate from each other or
yeah, I
something.
don't know.
Just
You could
like,
rent it room by room and you could probably make a lot. All right. Did you finish? I'm sorry.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
that
okay.
was 100% there. So what's your little split?
I have to think. Like, I don't want to be lame because like realistically it would be like 60% like S&P ETFs or something like that.
Yeah,
Nah, I think I'd do maybe let's say 50 and 50 S&P 500 ETFs, just broad market index funds and ETFs. I think I would do 5% crypto to have some excitement in my life and just as a hedge in case that stuff, like in case like the metaverse actually comes true.
in case
It's
it
like
blows up.
I've been, this is my philosophy, all right? Same thing, like let's say I'm betting there's like the World Series coming up, right? And it's like Giants versus Astros or something like that. Like I hate the Astros. I really like the Giants. But if the Astros win, would I be a little bit happier if I'd bet some money on them winning? I don't know if this is completely flawed logic. It like probably is. I don't know, because but then you can just like mitigate your emotions completely, because if your team wins, then your team won, but you also like lost some money. But then if the opposite team wins, then your team lost, but you won some money. It's a hedge against your own.
Okay.
Which
I
I
see
didn't
what
even
you
know. That's
mean.
probably like the dumbest thing I've ever said.
You
But
just bet for both sides, right? You can't lose.
yeah, pretty much. So I don't know. That's why I would buy some crypto. It's kind of the same idea. So yeah, let's say 5% crypto, 5 to 10% crypto. Where am I at? I'm around like 60 or something like that, just below. I think I would get some. I'd probably have some sort of real estate holdings, but I don't think it'd be too huge. I think, especially renting, like a lot of times it's just like gives you more freedom. I'd probably buy a house at some point. So we'll say like 20% would probably, maybe it might end up being more than that, like maybe like 30% real estate, and definitely the rest would, I mean, I'm like would probably be in some sort of like, equity in a business, like in a business that I'm actually involved in. Hopefully, like that's what ends up happening, because I feel like that's exciting, having a large amount of your net worth just be like
Yeah.
you run it, because then I don't know. It's like kind of stressful, but it's kind of like a good way, a good bit of stress. What is it called? Like you stress or something? I don't know.
I don't know.
Something like that. Um, yeah. What am I missing? Like no bonds. That's old person stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
no, maybe like I don't know. I guess ETFs would go under the real estate category. I mean, not ETFs, REITs, real estate investment trusts. Oh, cash. I would say I would keep minimal in cash, because an S&P 500 ETF is essentially cash.
that's true.
You can just liquidate it at any point. So I don't know, maybe keep $10,000 in actual cash or something like that. I feel like you don't need that much. Um, actually, I'm actually gonna change my answer. I think I do 100% of my net worth in Bugattis and cars. I just pull a Tate.
Yeah,
Like I know
that's a
that guy
better
is
idea.
like worth a lot, but he has so many cars. I feel like that's like a solid portion of his net worth is just like depreciating assets. But
I don't know how that even works. How do you afford them in the first? Like, he was a kickboxer, but kickboxers don't make that much money. I don't.
I don't even know.
There's
I
gotta
think
be
he
something
supposedly
else.
he had like some he had a webcam company, like with like
Really?
girls and stuff. Like so
Oh,
yeah,
like a
yeah. I think
bad, like
that's
in a
how
bad way.
supposedly he
Not.
made money.
I thought you meant like a drop shipping thing.
No.
Okay,
No,
okay,
like
okay. I
yeah.
see what you mean. I
Um
don't struggle to believe that.
yeah. So I think I'd get a cool car. I think old cars though, as appreciating assets, is a fun way to like justify a purchase of like a 911 G series or something. Like it's gonna go up in value. So I don't
Yeah,
know. I wouldn't mind collecting a few old cars. It's definitely a fun hobby.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
One thing I want to talk about, just to tap this episode, I think would be super sick. What if the place that we buy, like I think, did I tell you about this? Like, what if we just like build like a compound with all the
A
boys?
compound. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
is that not the most like fun thing ever?
That'd
Like,
be
it doesn't need
awesome.
to be like the main residence, but if we just bought some like land on a pond or something in like the middle of nowhere, or at least like close enough to like an airport, or maybe we just like buy a helicopter, or
Private
maybe like
jet.
a flying car,
A little PJ.
like a teleportation device.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I think it'd be sick if we build a compound. I feel like we should actually do that. That'd be dope.
That'd be sweet.
Bro, land is not that expensive if you buy it in the middle of nowhere. If we just build like a little like shack, we'll be like Thoreau. We'll like buy like Walden Pond, and we'll just like philosophize out there and like write poems and stuff.
Write poems and be angry at the world.
Yeah, I'm going to disobey. Yeah, no, I think it'd be dope.
No taxes.
Yeah. Did you see Andrew Tate just admitted to tax evasion?
I think every rich person does.
Nah, but he like straight up, he's okay. He's on like an Instagram live, or it's like I forgot where I saw this. Bro goes, so the British government, when I lived in Britain for a while, they want me to pay their tax, but it's like 40%. Okay, so they come and they send me papers, and I just don't fill it out because I'm not like that. I don't do that. And then he's like calling people who like fill out taxes like the P word and stuff. And he's like, I
It's
don't
kind of
pay that.
funny.
What are they gonna do? He's like, come get my money. And like supposedly they went to his house, and it's like he's told people say like Andrew Tate's not here. It's like bro just like casually admitted to tax
Admitted to
evasion.
tax evasion. That's kind
So
of
he's
funny.
like, I just don't pay it. What they gonna do about it? Come take my money. It's like, all right, bro. That's it's chill. I don't know. Tax evasion is kind of based. Wait, what? Okay, that's gonna wrap up this episode. We'll see you next Tuesday. That was fun. Mark your calendars, Maseo. That was vibes.
Those vibes.
I want to go rent a house now.
I know. I'm gonna go rent a big house.
We should do that for like a month.
Yeah.
Find like a
Airbnb
$40,000
house.
place a month or something like that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Maybe we can just put on the teen finance credit
I was
card.
about to say, just book on the teen finance.
Yeah,
Black,
I mean we make
Black
so much
Amex.
money. Like
Yeah.
it's like no big deal. All right,
It's not even funny.
later.
Later.